us. And I'm so excited that he's speaking to us tonight. And I just want to tell you a little bit about his life because it's very unusual in terms of a near-death experience and about pretty much in terms of everything else as well. In Jonathan's own words, he lived the definition of material excess, spending 25 years climbing the corporate ladder in marketing and technology as a C-level executive, accumulating possessions and actively avoiding anything spiritual. That all changed on May 22nd, 2023. On that day, Jonathan didn't just have a near-death experience, he died. His skin turned yellow, his organs failed, and he remained clinically dead for 3 hours. But what happened during those 3 hours was amazing. Jonathan describes experiencing complete immersion in divine consciousness, receiving profound spiritual teachings, and being given a choice: remain on the other side or return to share his experience with those ready to awaken to something greater. He chose to return, but the man who came back bore little resemblance to the executive who died. As Jonathan describes it, the cord was cut. His experience is now part of both the NDERF, so the Near Death Experience Research Foundation, and ION's research studies on near-death experiences. Since August of 2024, Jonathan has helped individuals across 10 countries through speaking engagements, group calls, and private sessions. You can learn more about Jonathan by visiting his website, which is www.jonathanashford.com. And without further ado, I would like to join Irene in welcoming wonderful Jonathan Ashford. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's just such a pleasure. And I know that a lot of people on here aren't aware yet because it didn't happen very long ago, actually, your transition to the other side and coming back, about your near-death experience and about what changed about your thinking when you got back. So maybe you could start by explaining to us exactly what happened.
Sure. Yeah, as you said in my bio, I was not if you can read between the words, I was not a spiritual person whatsoever. I was anti-spiritual. I used to make the joke, if God exists, what are you worried about? You'll just meet it when you're dead. Why are you paying attention to it? I was materially driven. I had no empathy or compassion for anybody. If you weren't helping me get to the top of the ladder or helping me make more money, I didn't care about you at all. That's just who I was. And that attitude made me very good at what I did for a living. Well, then I died. Um, I collapsed in a grocery store one afternoon, and I was a 2 hour a day gym guy. I was on the keto diet. I tracked every macro. I was very vain, a bodybuilder in a sense. And I thought, well, if I collapse in a grocery store, it has to be something very serious because I thought of myself as bulletproof. So I immediately got up from the floor and beelined it out of the building to the emergency room. The emergency room was a half mile from the grocery store. And when I went there, I was having trouble breathing. I couldn't feel my arms, my legs. Like I was a mess. And they took me in, they ran a bunch of tests and they couldn't find anything. They said I was having an allergic reaction to something. And I said, I only had a cup of coffee today. That's impossible. And they just let me out. They gave me some fluids and sent me home. Well, the same thing happened a week later, and I felt it coming on, and I rushed to the emergency room again. And I said, "Look, it's happening again. My eyesight is going. I can't feel my arms and my legs. I'm having trouble breathing." And they ran more tests, and the only indicator that came back that there was a problem was acidity in my blood. And I'll just tell you, the town that I live in is very remote, and we're about 8,000 people in the middle of nowhere. And our medical care is keep you alive medical care only. So it was kind of like, your blood's acidic. So what? You're on the keto diet. Go home. Well, sure enough, after I went home, after the second visit, I fell off a cliff physically. Within days, I was so sick, I could barely see, had trouble walking across my house, just extremely ill. And I thought I had picked up COVID from the emergency room because I was half a germaphobe at the time. I figured, well, I just got sick from being in the ER. What I didn't realize is I had a gallstone lodged in a bile duct that was causing sepsis, and the sepsis was moving from stage one to stage two to stage three. While I was in the stage two phase, I lost a lot of hair. I lost 10 pounds. I couldn't move. There was fluid leaking within my body cavity, which was what was making me so weak until the end of the second week. My entire body turned yellow, everything, top to bottom, yellow. And I was so tired and so sick that I just didn't care. I looked at it and said, it's not making me feel any different. It's not, I don't feel any worse because I'm yellow. And if I still look yellow tomorrow, I will call the emergency room or call for an ambulance. And I went to bed. And then that morning I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. I didn't know why. At that point, I was sleeping 18 hours a day. I was sleeping till 11 and 12 o'clock sometimes. And I had no idea why I was awake. And I just felt this strange peace, this weird contentment or something about me. And when I tried to get out of bed, I figured I'm awake. I might as well go use the bathroom. The phone said 4:30. When I woke up and tried to get out of bed, I fell. I fell into the wall and I kind of caught myself and I said, oh, something's really wrong. The room kind of shifted on me, not like a circle, but like somebody grabbed your TV screen and physically moved it. And I thought, well, I must be running a really high fever or something. All week, I'd been taking my temperature because I couldn't control my body temperature and I didn't know why. And it was always coming back as 97.1. Even to this day, it's 97.1. Couldn't understand it. It was in a heavy hoodie, wool socks, heavy sweatpants. Heat was on in the house and it was 70 degrees outside. I just could not get warm. Well, I was making my way down the hallway and I realized my right leg wasn't even working. It was just dragging behind me. It's like I couldn't even feel it. And I made it to the doorway of the bathroom and I saw the sink. I was sleeping with the bathroom light on. I saw the sink and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the sink. And I just kind of like fell towards it. And when I fell towards it, I saw my hands. When I caught the sink, I saw my hands and they were completely gray and just void of all fluid. And I thought, wow, what a weird hallucination. And then I looked up into the mirror and I saw my face and I realized it wasn't a hallucination. My eyes were sunken into the back of my skull. All the fluid was missing from my face. All of my skin was completely gray, 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 the grayest gray you've ever seen. It's like the skin was just hanging on my face. And there's something that happened in that moment, and I call it like a three-part process. It's it's a mind, body, personality thing. There's something that happens like your body knows how to die. It's natural. It's already built into you. It's a familiar feeling. It wasn't foreign. Your mind realizes that the body has started the process, and your mind kind of starts to slip into a state of ease. There was no part of me that said, I just want another breath. I just want another day. I'm too young. What about my dog in the other room? Like that human part of you is removed to make, I guess, the transition a little bit more peaceful. And then the last part of you to know it is your personality. And your personality says, well, here we are. We're just going through this. And there's no, at least in my case, there was no flailing in a sense, like drowning, like trying to just stay. It was an acceptance that I can't really explain, but I knew I was dying. I knew I was about to die. It's a familiar feeling that's within, I believe, everybody. And the next thing I knew, it was lights out. That was it. The last thing I saw in the mirror was me. The first thing I experienced, and some of us in the research studies have this experience. You will hear often, oh, there was a light and there a tunnel. And I didn't experience that. I'm part of a group that experienced a darkness first. Now, darkness is a rough word to use because when you think of darkness, you think it's void of something. But I will say it was like a silky embrace where you felt completely covered. And oftentimes I describe it in a way of a newborn being swaddled in a blanket and pressed up against the shoulder of a loved one. You can't see, it's dark, but you feel completely loved and safe. And that's what it felt like. There was no environmental feeling of coldness or warmth or anything like that. But it was just this velvety embrace of love. It just felt like you were being held. And I don't know how long I saw that darkness for. It didn't feel like time, but it felt like a movement of sorts, a transition of sorts. And then the next thing I know, I call it the long blink. It's like if you were to blink just longer. And then when I opened my eyes, I was now somewhere else. The place that I awoke in, I describe it as a landscape because it's the closest thing I can use to describe it. It looked like the Scottish Highlands or Ireland. It had green hills that were just flowing and no trees or bushes, and the grass was all the same length, the most vibrant green you've ever seen. And it was like everything was light. The rocks, the little gray rocks, it looked like a place where sheep would feed. There were like little gray rocks coming out of these hills, and everything had light coming out of it. Everything. The grass was moving like it was underwater, like it was just flowing like this, and just emitting this light out of it. And when you put your attention or intention on that light, it was like you could go into it and travel forever. And it just felt like love. It felt more alive than anything you've ever felt here, more alive than you think you are right now. And it was the most loving embrace, the most loving welcome, even though there wasn't anybody there originally, the most loving welcome because everything there was loving you. Everything there was welcoming you. Now, in the research studies, we all see something that would welcome us the most. I was welcomed by a natural landscape because that was about the only thing that gave me peace was nature. If I had seen a church, I would have been like, uh-oh, this isn't good. But some of you will see that. Some of you, if you are very religious, you might see a church. Others might see a different house or maybe the house you grew up in. But as far as the research studies are concerned, we're all welcomed by something that will give us the most peace. And for me, that was that landscape. I immediately noticed I could see 360 degrees around me, but seeing wasn't like seeing here. It was like feeling and seeing. It was like you can feel and see as one. Hard to explain. Um, I didn't have a body. I felt like I had a body. I felt like I was upright, vertical, standing, but I also know I didn't have one. You feel like an essence that has taken off 1,000 pound suit of armor. You've just shed it and you're just free. You're an essence in a way. About, I want to use time, but there's no time there. And I'll just say, after recognizing I could see all around me, I felt called to move a little bit. And I just moved kind of like maybe like 10 yards if I could use human language. And as I moved, there was this silky, kind of like milky white border that was all around me. And it was out though. It was like 25 yards away. So it was like in this kind of circle. And as I moved, it moved with me. Like I was always in the middle of it. And on the other side of this circle, it was like cloud-like. It's like I could see other beings. I could see things happening. I could see there was more. There was uh, action in a way, movement in a way. But as I was moving, the hills would start to develop as if a fog was clearing, and I would see a hill and then another hill. And as I went, there was a very large hill there and a big gray rock jutting out of this hill. And as I moved, I could see a being, a man sitting on the edge of this rock. And he had his hands crossed and his elbows on his knees, and his legs were just dangling off the rock, like he was just waiting for me. And he looked like somebody who would match this environment. He was dressed in hiking clothes. It just looked like somebody, if you were taking a walk across the Irish countryside and you saw somebody walking the opposite direction, you just wave, you just say, hey, and just keep walking. And I looked at the being, and in the moment where I made eye contact, and I say eye contact knowing I don't have eyes in this place, but as I made this eye contact, it's like receiving a 3 hour conversation all at once, instantaneous. It's like this giant ball that just gets placed within you. You understand where you are. You understand why you're there. You understand that you've passed. You understand that you're welcomed. And when I say that, most of you will intellectually go to a place where you will say, well, that's good because I would be wondering where I was. But that part of you that wonders where you are doesn't make the trip. The part of you that goes, where am I? What happened? I will tell you this, you will have no recollection of your life until the moment you are welcomed. You will wake up, you will die, you have no recollection that you even died until you're greeted and it's given to you because it feels more real there than it does here. It feels like a cartoon here now that I've come back. So you could say that side's the real side and this side is the dream. So when I made eye contact with this being and I realized that I had passed, the interesting thing is there's no recoil because you've done it so many times. It's natural. It's an accepted part of here you are again, welcome home. And it was after a moment that I realized that being wasn't a human. Couldn't be. His shape started to gleam a little bit and shift a little. And he made his way off the rock and he came down to me and he gave me a life review. Now, I wasn't a great guy. On paper, you would say, yeah, you should be in the hot spot. But I was not judged, not doing the worst thing I'd ever done in my entire life. I was unconditionally loved through everything, everything, every dirty little thing, all of it, unconditionally loved, as if I was just a child that didn't know better. And coming out of that life review, I had an understanding of connection. We're all connected far more than you can ever imagine, far more than any relationship you've ever had, on a level that will never make sense to you until you pass. And then you will remember it for a while. And then you will forget it when you come back here, only to try and remember it again while you're here. So coming out of the life review, I was given the option to return or stay. But I laugh because it has a sense of humor. I will say, once you feel that connection to all others, would you say, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay here. Forget them. No, you will choose to come back too. So when you feel that deep love for all things here, for all people here, for all circumstances, for everybody, even the worst person here, you will choose to love them as well. So I chose to return. And when I made that choice, I was taken to another half of a near-death experience, which is very rare. It's the point where you realize the landscape or whatever will welcome you was just a living thing there to give you a hug. And once you realize you don't need it, it turns into formlessness. Now, formlessness you would think is loss or emptiness, and I will say it's far greater than form. In this space, I was given information that seemed like it went on for eternity. I went from the least spiritual person on the planet to waking up with information that can only be explained as being given to someone divinely. So after receiving all of this information, a sun appeared, or a light, or star. There's no real word to describe it, but to give you the image, you could say it's a small sun in the middle of a void. And it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And as it grew, that light, it's a color I can't quite explain. It's like a golden white, but it's not golden white. And it's alive and it's love in its purest form. You could say that the light is love and love is the light. And as it grew and it swallowed this void and the being who was with me, who showed me all of this information, finally, everything was integrated into it. And I realized as I was in this light that I was also the light. And I will say that God exists, the universe exists, whatever word that you choose to call it, there is a divine intelligence that is beyond a name. The word God is even too small. And when you feel it and you're integrated with it, it's a bliss that I just can't explain. There are no words. It's kind of like it's created everything here. And if it snapped its fingers and everything came alive, grew eyeballs and looked at you, and everything said, I love you at once, and that echo traveled across the entire universe, that wouldn't even begin to describe what you get to feel. It's so far on another level, there aren't words for it. After being integrated with, I call it the embrace of God, it was time for me to return. And I felt like I was just a drop of water in slow motion falling off a tree branch back into my body, like the most, like a feather, just gently, slowly moving back. And I felt myself land in my cavity in a way, or wake up in the cavity. It was like I was in the center of my cavity, just a small little drop, and then slowly expanded into the body. And you could call that consciousness if you'd like. And as I was expanding into the body, I felt the heart try and take its first beat, half beat first, then its first full beat. I felt the lungs inflate without me breathing. I felt fluid move in my body that you will only ever notice if you get to die and the fluid stops and you feel it start again. You're feeling the fluid move within your body now. The problem is you've always felt it, so you can't point at it. So after feeling all of these things, I was on my back. I was twisted, laying on the floor. I opened my eyes and saw the ceiling. I went to reach my phone. I looked over. It had fallen out of my hoodie pocket, and I pushed the button, and it said 7:30 a.m. This had happened at 4:30, and I just laid there for a minute, trying to understand what happened. I wasn't sure what had happened. I figured if I had passed out, to be asleep for 3 hours doesn't really make sense. The first thing I tried to do is get off the floor, and I couldn't. I was too weak. And when I went to grab at the sink, there was a thermometer there, and all week, digital thermometer, all week, sticking in my mouth, 97.1, 97.1. Why do I feel like I have the chills? I feel awful. Why is it 97.1? When I put it in my mouth, it said 94.0, which is emergency hypothermia. And I didn't know what it meant. I know I was supposed to see that, but I didn't know what it meant for a year. And it wasn't until a year later where I had spoken at a school, a Waldorf school, and one of the mothers was a hospice nurse, and she was looking at me like, I'm not sure this guy died. I want to talk to him. And she said, "Can I talk to you like in an hour?" I'm like, "Absolutely. I'll meet you downtown." And I sat with her, and she said, and I didn't say that my body turned yellow in the talk like I've just told you. And she said, "Did your body turn yellow?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, I took care of my husband whose body turned yellow and he died of sepsis." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, it's awful." And she said, "And what was your body temperature? Did you happen to get it?" I said, 97 all week. And when I woke up, 94.0. And her eyes just went, woo, because she realized, she said, "That's 1 degree of body temperature loss in a corpse for every hour that you're dead." And I said, "Yeah, I was dead." And she said, "Yeah, you were dead." And then the conversation ended because she realized she was talking to a zombie. But at the end of the day, I came back with a whole lot of spiritual information, and I'm just giving you the Cliff Notes version. I came back with a whole lot of spiritual information that doesn't make sense for me to have at all, except to share. So that's what I do. I share it. I walked away from a 25-year career, six-figure salary. I sold my house. I sold everything I own. I'm homeless. I work for free. If you have worked with me, you probably know that I tell you not to pay me anything. Don't donate. Others still don't listen to me and they donate. I was told not to worry about money, so I don't. And I just live to share information. That's why I'm here. The unconditional love that I felt on the other side and that embrace of God, and really through the whole near-death experience, is something that I retain. And I just try to share it with people to help them understand that, one, death is not the end. You could say it's the beginning. You could reverse it. You could say coming here was death, dying is birth. Um, what your loved ones, if you have lost somebody, what they feel on the other side, I would say, I know you miss them. And I know you miss the way they look and the way they feel materially. But love them where they are because they're receiving something that is so incredible. Every day that you're here trying to trudge through life, they're feeling a bliss on a scale that I just can't describe. The strange thing is, they're in that place feeling that bliss, and they're also sitting right next to you right now. So you're in all places. I felt myself in all places at once. I wasn't there. There isn't a place. It's a state. It's a state of being. It's a transition into a state. You're not going to the third moon on the left-hand side of Saturn after running two red lights. So they're with you now. They will always be with you. They can hear everything you say. I often tell people that it is your intention and attention which allows your communication to exist. And if you're open enough, you'll feel it, or they'll give you a sign. You just have to be open enough to receive it.
This is absolutely beautiful, Jonathan, and I am so fascinated about your experience. I know everyone here is, and I also know that you were given so many gifts when you came back as well. You have all of the clairs, which is just
Mm,
an amazing thing, especially for someone who didn't believe in any of this before.
yeah.
But I think that the most pressing question from what you just said for every single person on here right now who has a child in spirit is you were given that choice to come back or not to
Mm.
come back. Why do you suppose our kids decide not to? Um,
I know that not everybody's given the choice from the research studies. In fact, most people, you make it far enough and they give you that boot to the head and they're like, get out, and you have more to do. But there are some rare versions in the studies where we are given the choice. And I say it's a choice, but I also say it's not a choice. To me, everything there is multidimensional. We would say, well, here's a question and here's an answer. And I will say that the choice was knowing that I was going to sacrifice the life, right? I was not going to be the guy with multiple boats, ski vacations and all the money I wanted to do stuff with. So there was just an understanding that the choice is multi-level and it won't pick people where it would affect things negatively. Imagine this, you're married or your husband or wife passes and they have to make the choice. They make the choice to come back, but now they're completely different, so different that you're thinking about divorce. Your kids don't recognize mom or dad anymore. That's how much I changed. My own friends don't recognize me. The closest friends that I had for 20, 25 years don't even recognize me. So I think I was in a situation where I wasn't going to affect a single guy living with a dog. It wasn't going to leave that much of a ripple. And I think those where it would shake up families or other relationships on a deeper level, I don't think they're given the choice. It's benevolent beyond what I can describe. So it takes all things into consideration.
so you talk about it as well, and
Mm.
obviously we have so many different names for that beautiful supreme being. Um, But also, you talk about the fact that it has an incredible sense of humor. Could you maybe tell people a little bit about the things that you've experienced here that are very funny that have happened since you've come back?
Yeah, there are so many. I have a relationship with it and I call it it and they and he and I call it all the things because I know it as singular, I know it as many. It's your kitchen table, it's also the unseen thing in the room. It's beyond what we can define. But I remember just one example. I came back, it was my birthday in August and I was just laughing. I was just in this incredible bliss. It's a beautiful sunny day and I was driving across this long bridge that we have here across this beautiful lake, sunshine, snow-capped mountains, sunroof open, tunes going, and I see an eagle fly over the sunroof, and I am just oozing unconditional love. And at the top of my lungs, I said, I love you. And as soon as I finished you, a big rock came up and hit the windshield and put a little crack in it. And I just burst out laughing because it has the sense of humor where it always reminds you, you're not done yet. You're just not done yet. You're not there yet. You're still here. And I like to say that God likes to fish for humans. And this is all a divine comedy, and it doesn't feel like it when you're wrapped up into the emotional side of it. But if you can step back and see that God has put your favorite bait on a fishing hook, and it's your weakness, And every time you see your weakness and bite the hook, it grabs you and says, "Gotcha," and throws you back in the water. And unless you start to observe your life, you will never recognize the fact that it always comes as your weakness. And the point is to help you transcend those weaknesses, because if you can transcend them, you're that much closer to being in the unconditionally loving state. So it's always teasing you in a way without us knowing that it's teasing us unless we kind of wake up to that fact.
That's so amazing. And it's exciting to know that life doesn't have to be as serious as a lot of us think that we have to make life. And along those same lines, again, I was talking to someone right before this interview, and she just loved your your thoughts about free will and soul plans.
Mhm.
So maybe you could talk a little bit about soul plans just to let people who might not understand exactly what those are first, and then talk a little bit about your thoughts on free will and
Mhm.
about this soul plan that we've been given to live while we're here. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
You could say that I don't use the terms soul plan because I don't want people to point at that there's some specific plan. Rather, understand that we're all here serving each other without us knowing we serve each other. As it was shown to me, I get this question a lot. What is my purpose here? I said, "Did you just take a breath?" They said, "Yes." It's like, that's your purpose. Take your next breath. You serve the whole just by existing. On top of that, there are the roles that you play. I'm a mother, a sister, a brother, a father. In those roles, you could say we can use the term soul plan. You will experience this existence through the roles that you've taken on. So if you've had children, you will experience it as a parent. If you haven't had children, you will experience it as someone who doesn't have children. So every one of us here is experiencing this existence with a degree of separation from each other. I like to call us, we're all rays of the sun. Wherever the ray comes off and it lands, that's where you live. But we're all coming from the same place. We're all that light. So the soul plan is let it happen. I call it letting versus getting. Instead of reaching for something outside of yourself, know that you're guided. You've always been guided, but you have the free will to say, I don't think I'm being guided, and I will do something else. Free will, as it was shown to me, was shown very simply. It's one decision made over and over your entire life. That singular decision is I am awake in this moment and I realize that there's a greater hand at work, or I'm asleep and I'm trying to fix it, figure it out, change it. I seek an outcome. It's happy to let us seek and do whatever we want, but it's also happy when we don't and say, guide me. Are you there? It's kind of like your best friend who's invisible standing in the room with you with their arms crossed and just tapping their foot, going, "Are you going to ask me for help yet? No? Okay, I'll just keep standing here." And it's got the patience of the universe. So it can stand there forever. It can stand there with you for multiple lifetimes. But the point is, it's always there. And we have egos and we have thoughts and opinions and the illusion of separation from it. And the truth is, we've never been separated from it from a forever. There was no time, no matter who you are here or even what you're doing, that you have ever been separated from it. So free will is, in that moment, I realize I'm an infinite and loving being.
It's
My
beautiful.
cho my choices will reflect that. Yeah.
Right. So, as an infinite and loving being as you are, I wanted to just let everybody know too, we would love for you to ask questions. And I didn't say that at the beginning of this, and I'm the one that gets to ask all of the questions right now. And I know that everyone has lots of questions for Jonathan. So please feel free to ask him questions. But also, I just want you to describe coming back here and the feeling that you have for everyone on here and the feeling that you have for everyone everywhere. Could you just kind of describe that, how that changed from before and
Yeah.
what it's like now?
Yeah, I hated everybody. I hated everybody, including myself. No patience for anybody. Nobody was good enough. I was never good enough. And if I wasn't good enough, how could you be? So I went from that state to I love everybody unconditionally. I love you where you are. I love the worst person on this planet without condition. It's hard to explain unconditional love, and I try to use examples like, can you love your favorite puppy, your best friend, your son, daughter, the Pope, the president, and the terrorist all equally? That's what it's like. There's no condition or behavior that must be met for you to be unconditional love. Doesn't mean you condone the behavior, but you see everybody here working through what they must work through. Everybody, if you're here, you're suffering. I don't care who you are. This place is a place of contrast. So you either recognize everybody is in a scale of understanding, they either understand or they don't, and their behavior reflects that understanding.
That's beautiful, and I agree. I think that it's very hard to understand while you're in a
Yeah.
physical body, though. I think that that's something that comes when we are able to detach ourselves, and you obviously have. And
Yeah.
I also just wanted to maybe let people understand what you're doing with this gift, all of these gifts that have been given you to you. Obviously, you have all of these clairs, and you have a waiting list right now of readings to do for the next year and a half. But you also do this on a donation basis, and I don't want people to start signing up, but I just think this is so fascinating. And sometimes you do 10 a day. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I came back with the sole purpose to share. That's as it was shown to me on the other side. I'm a rare case where I remember everything I was shown. Oftentimes near-death experiencers are shown everything and they come back and they have no access to it. In fact, most near-death experiencers come back in the studies, they won't even remember it for 7 to 10 years. So I came back very blessed. I remember it. I remember everything about it, all the information, the whole experience. And I'm only going, my third anniversary is coming up next week.
Oh, it's
So
next week. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So I share. That's all I'm here to do. I'm not here to gain. I don't want anything from anybody. I don't do anything for a transaction. I'm not here for fame or money or anything like that. Um, I put on free Zoom calls and I will sit on that Zoom call until the last question is answered. The average now is 5 hours. So I sit on the Zoom for 5 hours. I don't even get up to take a bathroom break. I sit and I will answer every question until it's done. And I just do that because I know that most people here don't realize what they are. You're a loving, infinite being. You've forgotten it. I'm just here to share with you in the hopes that you wake up. I can't help you wake up. That's your choice. It's your free will choice. But I will share something in the hopes that it gets you back in touch with that unconditionally loving self.
So I guess what I'd love to be able to hear from you is what you think parents of helping parents heal can take away from this experience. Obviously, I don't think that you're telling everyone to uh, give everything away and
No,
buy an RV and drive around the country, for
no.
instance. But could you tell us what this means for us who have children on the other side, and how this allows us to be able to move forward and, first of all, understand where they are, but live our lives in a more meaningful way as we go forward?
Yeah, the hard part to understand is any guilt, suffering that you may carry, any feelings of loss, all the human things that we go through when we experience those life-changing events. You don't need to carry them. They've never left. They never left the room that you're in. And it's hard to explain that they're in a state now which just allows them to be unconditional love for you in everything you've done, in everything you are. You're loved beyond anything you've ever felt. And and I know because I speak with a lot of parents and I speak with a lot of people who have just lost somebody that like last week and they're grieving. And I will say, yes, go through the grieving process, but know that they're not gone. Sometimes I describe it as the ocean. We're all just water in the ocean. And then a catalyst comes in, a heat or a cold, and the ocean turns to fog. And a heat or cold comes in and it turns it to a cloud, and heat or cold comes in again, all these catalysts. And then the cloud becomes the rain, which falls back into the ocean. Were you ever not the ocean? You're always the ocean. When you're the fog, you're the ocean. When you're the cloud, you're the ocean. When you're the rain falling back into the ocean, you're always the ocean. You've just changed state. So they're always with you, and you don't need to have regret. That's one thing I recognize in the life review. Regret is something we manufacture here. I didn't spend enough time with them. I wish I hadn't said that. It doesn't exist there. They don't carry that. They carry nothing but love. A love that I can't wait for you to feel someday again. And I would just say, speak to them from that love. Don't speak to them from the place of grief or the place of regret. Speak to them from the love of which you are, and they will speak to you back.
It's beautiful. And speaking of regret, one of the things that a lot of our parents carry with them more than anything is a very difficult time forgiving themselves, and then also with forgiveness for others, maybe who have had a hand in the transition of their children. Could you speak to forgiveness and what part it plays in your own life right now?
Forgiveness is huge. There's a step beyond forgiveness, but let's talk about forgiveness right now. There's something that happens when you realize that all of this is planned in a way that you will never understand here. There is no randomness. Our deaths are planned. Your date is planned. You're not changing it. I'm sorry. And it's to know that those who left when they left because it serves you and it serves them. It serves the soul or the essence or the being that they are and what they need to experience. But it's also a gift to you. It might sound strange. Them leaving is a gift to you. It's so that you can transcend the regret, that you can overcome the grief. You can forgive and find the love that you actually are. You are love itself without realizing it. And it's hard to understand that those who love us, if you want to go back to soul plans, it's not exactly like this, but let's say it is. You and the person who have passed meet on the other side and say, okay, you need to make it further this time, so I'll die first. And then that's what happens. And you forget that there was ever a plan and you judge the experience. Like, why did you have to go so early? Because you've forgotten what the plan was. You've forgotten that there is a plan. You've forgotten that nothing here is random and it's just supposed to be experienced. So it's all a gift when you can forgive. It's all a gift when you can let go and know that they haven't left. They're still with you.
So, what is the step beyond forgiveness? That was beautiful. And it's interesting because a lot of us here in Helping Parents Heal talk about the collateral beauty and the gift that we've received from having our children transition and being able to know that there's more, and knowing that we're going to be physically with them again, but also right now feeling that
Yeah.
they're with us every step of the way. So, everything that you've said, it resonates. What's the step beyond forgiveness that you would like for us to know?
The step beyond forgiveness is recognizing the thing that is injured is not what you are. To be offended, you have to define yourself as your name, your situation, who you are, your beliefs, versus what you really are, which is love itself. So when you recognize that you are love itself, you are just unconditional love manifest. What can be hurt? What can be offended? Nothing. That is the enlightened understanding, or you could say that is truly the embodiment of love. I hate you. Well, I love you. Your words can't hurt something that is unconditional love. So take your time getting there. because in order to get there, you have to step over a human that says, no, you have offended me. But the truth is, you can't be because you aren't the human. The human stays, you go. The real you is the unconditional love that you have for the ones that you've lost. That's the real you.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you, Jonathan. And it's very reassuring to hear that as well, because um, I think that for all of us to know, first of all, that our kids are happy, healthy, and home, and to know that we're still in school, because that's what you're describing. This is pretty much maybe high school, maybe junior high, even worse, junior high, because it's definitely one of the most difficult schools in the universe, from what I've been told. And we're here to be able to learn. So here we are learning. Our kids are helping us, from what I understand. Have you heard
Mhm.
anything about what they may be doing on the other side besides just standing beside us?
Some of them have already taken other existences. We're plural in a sense. We're not singular. We we as humans work off the idea that one is one, but one is many. One is they're there, they're here, you're also there. We think we're here, but it's more in line with we're all standing on a beach somewhere. We all know each other. We're all best friends. And one of our friends brings virtual reality goggles. And you're like, let me try. And you throw them on, and your friend says, now, wait a second. This is going to be intense. And you're like, I don't care. I want to try it. So you put it on, and you're in New York City. You're born. You live an entire life, 95 years. You have a career. You have kids. Everything happens. You die in a nursing home, 95. And you take off the goggles and you go, oh my God, that was insane. That was intense. I had a whole family. I had everything. And you say, how long was I gone? And they said, 1 second. It's understanding that reality isn't what you think it is. It's an expression. It's a chance to remember what you are. It's to remember that you are love itself. Sometimes I describe it's God holding a tennis ball and he's standing there with tennis shoes and he's just bouncing the ball off the ground. And every time the ball bounces and hits the ground, that's your death. And you bounce back up to the hand and he does it again. And you bounce back up to the hand. And all we're experiencing here is the slow motion drop of the tennis ball. Seems like 100 years, but it's not. It's at the snap of a finger. So really, it's time doesn't really exist. It's more of an illusion. And you could say it's right now. It's just right. What time is it? Well, it's right now. What time is it now? It's right now. Is it ever going to be tomorrow? Nope. Because if you ask me tomorrow what time it is, I'm going to answer the same thing. It's right now. So if it's always right now and you only have one choice and one thing to know, remember, or learn your way to, and that is I am unconditional love itself, then you only have to make that choice right now. Just one time, right now.
I love this. And I also just want to remind everyone that Jonathan said that even though your children may be here, they're also there. They're
Yeah.
here and they're there.
Yeah.
So just as we're there, so we were there when our kids got over there. We were there to greet them. So don't be nervous about the idea of reincarnation, because it doesn't mean that they have reincarnated and you're not going to see them when you get
No,
there. What it means is that we all exist in many places at the same time. Our souls are so enormous. Is that correct? Am I
that's
understanding
correct. The
correct?
funny thing is someday you will realize you are also everything in the room that you're sitting in. You're the paint on your walls right now, and you have no idea. It's you're more than just this body. You're an infinite being. You can't even be defined. It's funny that when you get to the other side, you realize you don't have a name. We think of names because they are singular, but you've lived many times, you've been many things, many existences, and you will continue to have many existences. And you realize, well, if I don't have a name, what should I call myself? And you realize there is no self, there's just love. I am love, right? It's, I'm sure most of you have heard this, I am, but we always like to stick something after. I am something. I am a name. I am a career. I am something. But I'll say just I am.
That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. So I'm wondering, does it, I think that the chat box might not be working or people, I haven't written anything in the chat box. So oh, there are questions in the chat box. Okay. I'm so sorry about that. And I wasn't watching them. Irene, did you see these questions? Okay. So let's go ahead. Um, and ask some of these questions. So, Kathleen is saying, I have heard we are a dense vibration here on Earth and a lighter vibration in heaven. Is this correct?
No, I would lose. That's a yes and no. That's our attempt at describing something that can't be described. Are you a vibration? Yes and no. Are you a light? Yes and no. Are you the knowledge of all the universe? Yes and no. In other words, you are all things. But w would I call you a vibration? No. You're so much more than a vibration. You're everything.
Wonderful, great answer. And you were talking about this earlier as well. Um, let's see. Gina is saying, I trust what you are saying, but I feel so alone. What would you say to
Mm.
someone who feels alone in this huge universe, this huge situation where we do have our kids who are on this other side. I'm sorry, I'm just plugging in my computer right now, and who are not physically with us. What would you say to someone who feels alone right now?
Yeah, I was a person before death that I felt very alone. I felt misunderstood. Nobody liked me. I only hung out with other wolves like myself. And in the life review, I was shown, I used to drive my German sports car on the back roads of this eastern state, radio cranked, just peeling around corners thinking, I'm alone. I used to take these long Sunday afternoon road trips. And I was shown in every circumstance that there was somebody riding in the car with me. You are never alone. I'm sorry, you have zero privacy. None. You may feel alone, but the truth is you aren't alone. The question is, can you can you understand that there's a bigger hand in the room? There's a divine hand. There's a divine being tapping its foot, saying, "Are you going to acknowledge me? Are you going to ask if I'm here?" It's about forming a relationship which is difficult with something you can't see, right? The religions talk about its faith, divine trust. Yes, but it's more about acknowledgement. I acknowledge that I've reflected on my life and realize I could have never made it this far without some kind of influence. And when you recognize, well, I can't see the influence, I can't see the hand that's influencing, but I feel that there's something there. Then you will start to develop that relationship. And the more you acknowledge it, the more it acknowledges you. So I would start there, but you're never alone, never alone.
Oh, it's beautiful. So I know that a lot of parents on here have children who have transitioned by suicide, and we make no exception in helping parents heal about any way that any of our children pass. So I'd love for you to reassure this one mom who's asking a question. She says, I would like to know my daughter transitioned by suicide. Would she have received the same unconditional love?
Oh, gosh, yes. Now, there's something that we come back with as near-death experiencers. We know that suicide isn't the best way out. I would say try not to. But no, you are not judged. You are unconditionally loved beyond measure. And that goes for everybody. It's hard for people to understand without the experience because you will say, well, that person does not deserve unconditional love. And I will just tell you, everybody does. Everybody. And it's just hard to understand, but yet no judgment, unconditionally loved beyond measure.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you. And I knew you'd answer that way. So, Chelsea is saying, so you came back because it would cause ripples, but our children leaving left more ripples and pain than if they had had the choice and actually back even if they had were changed. Respectfully, please clarify. So I think that what she's talking about is what I had asked in the beginning, which is these ripples of pain that we see here that you were explaining are not actually ripples of pain, but
Yeah, it's hard, especially when you're grieving or you're experiencing loss. And in my life review, there were plenty of things. I felt like I lost a childhood. I was married for a while. I felt like I lost a wife. I had these chips on my shoulder of loss. And in the life review, you realize, and this is going to sound crazy, but you've never lost anything. You've only experienced what you needed to experience. And you're feeling loss now. You're describing it as loss. You're feeling the emotion of loss. You're feeling the emptiness that is now there. But I will tell you, when you get to the other side, it won't be loss. It's interesting to know that there are some of us that come down here to find our hearts again. And the only way to do that is to experience loss, great loss. And it's the most difficult thing to transcend, is to realize that there, even in that, there is love. Even in your feeling of love or feeling of loss, there's unconditional love. And that's why there's no judgment. You can't screw up here. You can't mess it up. You can only forget that you are love. You can only forget that you are loved every second, every breath. You're loved and cradled now. Try to remember that, and it'll change for you.
well, and I do believe that, as I was saying, this Earth School is one of the hardest in the universe, but I think that we are learning this school that we're in, having a child transition or more than one children transition
Yeah.
is definitely one of the hardest schools that we could be in. But I trust that we're learning something really incredible. And and I think that one of the things that we are learning is that it's all about love. This whole journey
Yeah.
is all about love and being kind to others and loving ourselves as well. And that's another thing that I think I find very interesting about your talks is talking about self-love as being just as important as loving others. Could you maybe just say something about that as well for people here?
Yeah, self-love is a portal. It's access to the greater love that is within you. I'm speaking to people in 22 countries now, and we are the worst. Americans are hands down the worst at self-love. We're always reaching for something outside of ourselves. We're just never good enough. And it's recognizing, can you love yourself for experiencing what you've experienced in loss? Right? Can you love yourself for being exposed to what you're exposed to? And oftentimes we don't see it that way. We look outside of ourselves for a solution. I don't want to feel this anymore. I don't want to feel the pain, or I don't want to feel the loss, or I just want the outcome to be different. Instead of looking at ourselves and saying, I'm going to love myself for having gone through this. I know there was something in it. I don't see it yet, but I know someday I will. That's a challenge, but that's also the entryway to the unconditional love that you are, is just loving yourself where you are right now. Not because you're better or well or happy or sad. You love yourself where you are right now. And that's where it starts.
It's beautiful. Thank you. So, we've come to the end of the hour, and I would love for you to come back, especially since I didn't see the questions until halfway through. So I apologize for that. Irene, do you have anything that you'd like to say to Jonathan?
No, thank you. This was just a wonderful, wonderful hour, and I look forward to having you come back again to talk some more.
Thank you.
You have time
Very
for us.
profound.
And we always ask everyone to unmute and say thank you. So if you guys would like to do that, please go ahead and do so.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jonathan.
Thank you,
Jonathan.
Awesome.
Thank
Jonathan.
you,
It was
Jonathan.
absolutely so.
Jonathan.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Amazing.
Have
Jonathan.
a
Thank you.
bye-bye.